Uh, I'll try and run as quickly as possible. So definitely we are looking at child hunger and child malnutrition. That is our focus. So what we are saying is, how can we work together with the government of Zimbabwe, the civil society, other INGOs, and World Vision ourselves to be able to address these issues that we are seeing as quickly as possible. So I'm going to look at the technical issues or the pieces of the puzzle that we are thinking as World Vision. Malnutrition, if we address these together, so what we are saying we could be able how can we work together child hunger and malnutrition with the government of Zimbabwe. So it's a little bit complicated, but I'll speak to this. I'll try and run ourselves to be able to address these issues that we are focusing on as quickly as possible. So I'm going to look at the technical issues. Definitely, we are talking about children being visible within this campaign. And how we want to hear what they have to say, and we want them to participate in our policy changes around nutrition for children. So we are doing this at a local and also at a global scale. We're just not looking at it at the national level, but we are also speaking to children who are on the ground in our community. We are making sure that in the school feeding committees, which are at grassroots level, children are actually involved and they are working together to feed into the national policies around nutrition for children. So the voices of children on our strategic goals is very important to us. So we are doing this at a local. The second one, we want children to enjoy better food and to also enjoy prioritized services within their communities that they live. Because definitely health is linked to nutrition, is linked to hunger, is linked to malnutrition. So these are our main focus areas for our campaign. So for us to, so the voices of children, for us to be able to achieve this, we have two outcomes. And the second one, children's voices being heard and children being visible. And one of them is about around the data within their communities that they understand, because definitely health of child hunger and malnutrition at all levels. We are going to be working with academia, we're going to be working with all of you. So we actually understand to what extent is this problem a problem. For us to be able to the gap, so we can be able to close the gap together. So we need to know, we need the numbers, what is really happening on the ground. So that's 1.1 day, which will now feed into 1.1, 0.1, and 1.1.2. We are also speaking around funding of policies around issues that would make sure that the livelihoods of these children and their communities are sustained in the long term, even in the face of shocks. Because climate change is upon us, shocks will continue to come. But how can we assist these communities to be able to buffer themselves against these shocks? When Cyclone Idai happens, or when an El Nino happens, the communities should be ready to be shaken, but quickly come back and be able to move on. So this is where we want to get to in 1.1.3, where we're saying we need relevant and national policy and funding, including sustainable and climate-smart agricultural practices to come, food security and disaster risk reduction, which will prevent future crises in these communities. The second one, which talks about food security and nutrition in the communities, we are going to look at all of them. So this is where we want to get to. We are interested in making sure 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3 are actually addressed. The first one has to do, obviously, children should be able to consume nutritional food, and we encourage that it be locally produced. That way it's easier for them to attain, it's easier for them to consume, because it's not hard for them to actually get. The second one has to do with linking our old campaign, which was called It Takes a World to End Violence Against Children. And our focus in the country was sexual violence, where we are saying the first one has to do research actually shows us that hunger is a the key driver of sexual violence, especially towards girls. So we are saying, if we make sure, like the ND was saying, that children and girls are kept in school, and while they're in school, they are being fed, linking we could contribute to sexual violence against especially girls, reducing it teenage pregnancy. So this is a link from our old campaign moving into our new campaign to say ending sexual violence. We are continuing it even as we look at nutrition, as we look at some of the key drivers that cause girls to find themselves in this situation. And then the last one, children and families increase their access to comprehensive, preventative and curative nutrition services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is a strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services closer to the community, because like I said before, health, nutrition, malnutrition, hunger, we are all interlinked. So we want to find a way of assisting the community level health workers so they can assist the community. So here under the second strategic goal services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services closer to the community, because like I said before, health, nutrition, malnutrition, hunger, we are all interlinked. So we want to find a way of assisting the community level health workers so they can assist the community. So here under the second strategic goal services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services closer to the community, because like I said before, health, nutrition, malnutrition, hunger, we are all interlinked. So we want to find a way of assisting the community level health workers so they can assist the community. So here under the second strategic goal services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services closer to the community, because like I said before, health, nutrition, malnutrition, hunger, we are all interlinked. So we want to find a way of assisting the community level health workers so they can assist the community. So here under the second strategic goal services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening, or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October. Services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening, or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October. Services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening, or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October. Services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So is obviously strengthening of support services at community level. What we would want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening, or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in our nutrition activities, even at grassroots level, they are not ending there. If I can give an example of the first quarter of FY24, which from October services. So here we're just saying we want to lobby. So this is all the strengthening from our of support services, more community level campaign to say what we want to see, we want to bring these services. I spoke about driving local to global advocacy. The issues that are happening or the efforts that we are putting in
Come closer. Are you happy with the hunger exercise?
Maybe I can even comment more to say sometimes intermittent fasting is welcome.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not your choice.
Yes.
But
It's forced.
It's forced. So it can be healthy.
If I force it on you, will you be okay with it? Okay. All right. Let's find out from the kids. Where is Kelly? Kelly is over there. Are you okay with the hunger exercise, Linda? If you can go to Kelly over there. Can we skip tea and lunch?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Before we take a break for tea, I'm sure the engineers are ready. Can we please shift our attention to the screens for a Hunger Realities video? They always say that seeing is believing. Ladies and gentlemen, our attention to the screens.
In their way. As a counselor, I meet children every day whose biggest challenge is not just about passing their exams, it is finding their next meal. Because of drought, hunger is keeping too many of them from reaching their full potential. Hunger does not just mean an empty stomach. It also means a child who cannot concentrate in class and the future slipping further away.
I love coming to school because I know I will eat. It helps me to learn better.
I love eating health food. Nekuda kwe-feeding program yatinayo, attendance yevana vedu yakwira zvekuti vairovha vaya vamwe vacho vanenge vasina chikafu kudzimba, but we can see kuti izvozvizvi because vanenge vachiziva kuti tichanodya kuchikoro vari kuuya on daily basis, then health yavo tiri kutoona kuti vazhinji vataimboendesa kuclinic izvozvizvi nhamba yacho yareducika, then even papass rates, mapass rates edu they are improving, zvichishowa kuti izvona zvine something to do nekuwana chikafu kwakakwana.
Some days, some children come to school on an empty stomach. They're trying to concentrate, but hunger makes it hard.
We want to do well in school, but you cannot focus when we have not eaten. Some of my friends have already dropped out of school.
No children should have to make such choices. School meals are not just about food, they are about to protect our children's future. These children have dreams. They want to be doctors, teachers, and leaders, but hunger is holding them back.
Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And it is real. It's a reality. This is happening in our own country. And like I said earlier, it is something that we might need to think about so that we can take a part in ending child hunger and malnutrition. Linda will take to the stage for the next.
Okay, so that was Paida, a junior counselor. She was appreciating the implementation of the school feeding programs. We're moving on to the hunger poem. But before I introduce the one who's going to recite the poem, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our child guest of honor, Shadrach Magaya. Can you show by raising your hand? Let's give him a round of applause. Okay, you shall see him as he comes to present. Okay, so on the hunger poem, we have a young lady in the room. Her name is Uminati Sibanda. So this girl is probably the youngest girl in the room, but she has the audacity and the passion to stand and advocate towards ending child hunger. So we see that we are implementing the aspect of child participation in this campaign because our insights as children can inform more effective policies because they say, so we are the children, we make the fire glow lighter, we make the fire burn, and she's going to light up the stage. Let us give her a round of applause as she's coming up front.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. All protocol observed. I answer to the name Uminati Sibanda, a grade 2 learner in Lupane district. I'm ready to present my poem about titled Enough. Induced drought, our fate. Learners come to school on empty stomach. Learning an empty stomach is difficult. I cannot concentrate. I cannot pass my exams. But I say, this is just nothing because we have enough. Yes, enough. I say we have enough to end hunger and malnutrition in schools. We have enough resources to feed the learners who come to school hungry. Did you know our government of Zimbabwe give us meal? Parents only provide relish. What is Endino-induced drought? When we have our caring government and parents, truly we have enough to feed the learners. Remember, it is not about the quantity in the dish, but the quality in the meal. We have enough to protect children from abuse. Parents, neighbors, and teachers are our primary shields. In your hands, we are protected. Children need education. Yes, quality education. We truly have enough teachers to take us up the ladder. Count yourself in. You matter most. You are just enough. Ladies and gentlemen, we only need a lunch tin to share with friends at school. This will make us learn school and perform well, I think.
Come on. Wow. Oh, goosebumps. And yeah, getting a bit teary there. Amazing. You know, sometimes I wonder when I go on social media and I see the type of content that goes viral. This is what's supposed to be going viral. I didn't see people taking out their phones and trying to capture the moment. This is the content that is supposed to be going viral. The future of Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, is in good hands. Another enough round of applause for the young girl. Amazing. Wow. Listen, I think that said, we can cut the hunger exercise and go for tea. We can go for tea. We will take a break, gentlemen, for a tea break, and we will be back shortly. Thank you so much. What was that? My voice was shaking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will kindly ask the table with our guest of honor to go first, and everyone else will follow. All right, we'll be back in 10:30. We're trying to keep up with our time. Let's just be conscious of that. Thank you.
And not even the face. She hasn't faced. By what? She hasn't making gestures of love.
She's a star. She's a star. She's a star. Yes. Oh my God, they're the most introducing. Hold on.
Hello. Hello. Dear colleagues, you may stand and go for tea break.
All right, my time. Chinachi. Kelly Arukano, poem. Kelly Anamata. Okay. Chiripapi, Chirika Abandit. All right, so it's a long time. So joining in our campaign research presentation and the end of it, gonna put
My faith will stand, and I will go.
We know the questions.
Children submission prayers, then more children participating in child. Okay, it's a video.
You called me out on the waters, great unknown, the feeling never felt. Come on, sing it to me. And there I found you in the mist, in the ocean's deep. You called me out upon the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I found you in the mystery, in oceans deep. My faith will stand. And I your beauty, and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours. You are your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. My feet may fail, and fear surrounds me. You never fail, and you won't start now. So I will call upon you and keep my eyes above the waves. Oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours, you are spirit. Me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you go. Take me deeper than my feet can ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you go. Take me deeper than my feet can ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I call upon your name. Keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace. I am.
She's brilliant. May we please take our seats? Thank you. Welcome back to the World Vision Zimbabwe Enough Campaign 2024. It's the official launch, and we are very excited to have everyone here. Let's dive back into the program. Allow me to invite to the stage Kudakwashe Zombe to give us the Enough Campaign research presentation. Kudakwashe Zombe, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause.
Thank you so much, KVG. That is very good. So I'll share with you the findings of the policy analysis that we did prior to this launch. And what we were doing is we wanted to come up with a baseline on data that we are going to use in evaluating this campaign. And we also wanted to take note of the policy gaps so that we'll be able to come up with policy recommendations during the implementation of this campaign. So as we wait for the slide to come up, I will just give a background of what we did. We're looking at 4 main ministries. That is Ministry of Health, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare. And we're also looking at policies that are within the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. All right, so let's, in the interest of time, let's move on to slide 3. So the methodology that we used is we did a desk review of policies and strategies that are within these 4 ministries. And like I indicated, that one of the aims of this policy analysis, it was to identify the policy gaps that will help us in formulating policy recommendations, and also to build a baseline of data to evaluate the Enough campaign. So the main reason why we looked at these 4 ministries is that they play complementary roles in mitigating the effects of child hunger and malnutrition. So that is why we selected these 4 ministries. Next slide. So you all agree with me that the right to adequate nutrition is the previous one. So the right to adequate nutrition is a basic right and a binding obligation that is preserved under international law. And there are quite a number of conventions as well as declarations that also recognize this right. And these include the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, the International Covenant on Economic and Social and Cultural Rights. But of key to these declarations and covenants is the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. So the right to adequate nutrition including the right to nutrition for children or the right to adequate food, sufficient food for children, is something that is recognized by international law. And as a country, next slide, we also recognized this right within the Constitution of Zimbabwe. So if you look at Section 77 of the Constitution, it states that the government has to ensure that each and everyone, including children, has sufficient food, and the government must take measures under its limits to ensure that each and everyone realizes this progressive right. So after the Constitution, if we look at the policy framework within the country, you realize that before the launch of the Food and Nutrition Security Policy, the government came up with a task force that was looking at issues to do with food and nutrition. And that task force recommended the country to then develop the Food and Nutrition Security Policy. And after the development of that policy, that led to the launch of the National Nutrition Strategy in 2014. And then the other sectors as well, they developed their sector-specific strategies to complement the implementation of the policy as well as the strategy. So this is how we came up with the policy and legal framework in the country. So moving on to the analysis that we did, we looked at key documents within the ministries as well as within the local governance. And one of the documents that we analyzed was the National Development Strategy. And looking at its strengths, you realize that in this advent of climate change, there's need for us to be resilient and to adopt climate smart agriculture, so that we ensure that as a country we are self-sufficient. And one of the strengths of the National Development Strategy 1 is that it speaks to issues to do with resilience and climate smart agriculture. And the other strength of this policy is that it also speaks to the school feeding program. And the previous speakers were speaking a lot about the school meals. So it's a strength on its own that this NDS1 is saying that as a government, we need to ensure that, our school feeding program is efficient and providing adequate nutrition to the learners. And the other strength is that it looks at a multi-sectoral approach. Issues to do with hunger and malnutrition, specifically looking at children, are not a one sector issue. There's need for different sectors to play a complementary role in mitigating the effects of hunger and malnutrition. So this NDS1 is as a strength in the sense that it talks of multi-sectoral approach in the implementation. And some of the silent or the limitations of this strategy is that it's silent on the economic benefits of investing in nutrition. So if you are to look at the cost of not investing in nutrition, or the cost of or the benefits of investing in nutrition within the strategy, it's a bit silent. But for one to invest in something, they have to know the benefits of investing in that thing. So there is need for us to maybe ensure that NDS2 has a component that speaks on the benefits of investing in nutrition as well as investing in food security. And it's also a little bit limited in terms of urban food systems transformation. If you are to look at the current traction in terms of food system, there is a need for us to ensure that as we implement the devolution process, there's also need to ensure that cities are coming up with food policies so that they are self-sufficient. So those are some of the key findings that we got during the analysis under NDS1. Let's move on to the next slide. And looking at the Food and Nutrition Security Policy, one of its strengths is that its focus is mainly on children below the age of 5. So it has targeted child nutrition programs such as supplementary feeding, deworming, promotion of exclusive breastfeeding, promotion of continued breastfeeding, looking at mainly children below the age of 5. And it also has a strong emergency response to hunger crisis, in which it speaks of providing, social assistance as well as social transfers. And it also speaks of strengthening the health system and community-based interventions. One of the previous speakers highlighted that, health and nutrition cannot be separated. So this policy looks at strengthening the health system as well as community-based interventions, which is a strength on its own. And on the limitations, its focus or its scope is mainly focusing on children below the age of 5, especially those below the age of 2, which is known as the first window of opportunity. But it has a limited focus on the adolescent nutrition, which is the second window of opportunity. So that's one of the limitations that we noted in that policy, and it also doesn't provide much in terms of food systems. And looking at the multi-sectoral food and nutrition strategy, one of its strengths is that it has set ambitious targets on self-sufficiency, on reducing food insecurity, and also on reducing the prevalence of stunting from 23.5% to 17% by 2025, which is a strength. And it also focuses on building resilience and dietary diversity in trying to ensure that, each and everyone, including children, have access to good nutrition. So those are some of the strengths. But looking at the limitations, you realize that there is a resource or a funding gap, which is a challenge on its own, as it may hinder the implementation of the strategy. I'll give an example of one of the shocks that may also hinder, the implementation of the strategy. Looking at climate change, nowadays we are facing droughts, we are facing floods. Those are some of the limitations that may affect the implementation of this, the successful implementation of this strategy. Next slide. We also looked at the Zimbabwe School Health Policy, which is under Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education. And one of its strengths is that it speaks of the school feeding program, in which the ministry is committed to ensuring that each learner is having at least one meal a day. And it has got an integrated approach with the homegrown school feeding program, which is a strength in that it ensures that there is sustainability of the school feeding program. And it also supports local farmers, because the homegrown school feeding program speaks to farmers providing the food to the schools for the school feeding program. So it also provides farmers with a local market, and it also ensures that the farmers should provide dietary diversity to the learners. So that's one of its strengths as well. But looking at the limitations, you realize that there is an uneven reach when you look at its reach. It's uneven looking at the rural and urban schools. So there is also need to ensure that going forward, maybe all schools need to provide meals to the learners. And also looking at some rural schools, they may lack infrastructure on the kitchens as well as the storerooms for the food. So it's one of the limitations as well. And there's also a limitation in terms of ownership and sustainability, because it's not really clear on who's the owner of this program, And the community in some instances is not playing their part in trying to support the school health authorities as well as the government in ensuring that learners have access to meals. And looking at the National Social Protection Policy Framework, under social welfare, its approach is comprehensive and it's multi-sectoral approach, and it has got a broad range of social protection interventions, looking at social assistance, social transfers. But when you look at its limitations, it has got a limited focus on urban vulnerability. Of course, nowadays there are some interventions within the urban setups, but it's still limited. And it also lacks a mechanism of monitoring as well as evaluating and data collection. Next slide. And we also looked at the food deficit mitigation strategy, and some of its strengths are that it's a comprehensive framework for food distribution in terms of assisting vulnerable groups in times of when they face shocks, and its targeting is very, very much inclusive. It looks at people living with disabilities. It looks at orphans. It looks at the elderly. So its targeting is very, very much inclusive. But when you look at the limitations, its urban coverage is limited. And it has got an insufficient focus on nutritional quality. So it's mainly providing staples and that on its own is a gap. So that also needs to be addressed. Next slide. So we also did a snapshot analysis of the budget. That is the 2025 domestic investment in the sectors, trying to see if they are meeting the regional benchmark. So under education, it's commendable that the government this time met the 20% Dakar Declaration, and 20.6% of the national budget was allocated to education. And looking at agriculture, only 8.3% was allocated to the Ministry of Agriculture, which is below the 10% benchmark under the Maputo Declaration. And looking at health, 10.2% was allocated under health, which falls below the 15% Abuja Declaration. And looking at social welfare, there's a steady increase in terms of allocation. 3.9% was allocated, but it's still below the 4.5% under social policy for Africa. So these were our findings in the policy analysis, as well as the budget analysis exercise that we conducted prior to this launch. And looking at the conclusions, the first, there's need for the government to increase this investment in the 4 ministries that I highlighted. That is, if we are to ensure that children realize the right to adequate food. So, and there's also need to ensure that the children are empowered to be agents of change. And the last one is that the Ministry of Agriculture needs to pay attention to food systems transformation. Of course, there's a strategy that speaks to that, but there's more that is needed in terms of ensuring that the urban population has got access to adequate food. So there may be a need for us to pay attention to the city region food systems transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuda.
Moving on to the next program, which is submissions and prayer session. I understand we're running out of time, but allow me to ask Paida Moyo to stay and give a round of applause for being out there and she was in the Hunger reality video. That is Paida Moyo, a junior counselor. Take your seat. Thank you. Okay, so I shall now call upon Simbarashe to give us his submission. Simbarashe. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, salutations to all the child leaders present, our esteemed guests, our host World Vision, and all protocols observed. The one who is speaking is the junior councillor of Ward 12 from Gwanda South constituency by the name Simbarashe Pride Chitojo. Firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude to the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education and World Vision for involving us children from the consultation meetings all the way to the launch of Enough campaign. Without taking up much of your time, allow me to share how children have benefited to the interventions aimed to end child hunger and malnutrition. Children have benefited from the school feeding programs, an initiative from the government of Zimbabwe, which ensures that every child receives 1 hot meal at school every day. Additionally, children have benefited to the access to water. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be asking yourself, why am I saying water? Well, water is life. With water, we can implement the irrigation schemes and the nutritional gardens that which enables the families to have nutritional gardens and grow nutritious food. Additionally, furthermore, water in schools also boosts the school feeding programs through the establishment of nutritional gardens. Once again, thank you for your commitment to this cause. Together, we can fight against child hunger and malnutrition to ensure a better tomorrow for every child. Thank you.
Unati, come up front with your submission. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. People are not clapping. Let's clap for her. Yes, that's the spirit. Let us clap.
A good day to you all, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all protocol observed. Standing in front of you is Unati Malinga, a child ambassador from Umzingwane district. I'm here to talk about the role of children in ending child hunger and malnutrition. Globally, 1 in 5 children suffer from hunger, and 1 in 3 suffer from malnutrition. Food for thought, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't that painful to hear? It's not just a health issue. It's an economic issue and a human rights issue. But here's the catch. We, as children, can do something about it. We have power in our hands. We hold the world up high in the sky. There are children who are known as nutrition ambassadors, which focus mainly on providing nutritious food for other children around the world. We learn something every day. For example, in my home village, Umzingwane district, there is a youth club which provides food for every child in a school. We, as children, let's learn about nutrition. The more we learn, the more we educate others. As we are here, we are learning, right? We are going to share with other children who are left there at our homes. Let's start gardens. We have hands. We can start our own gardens, and that is a solution. Let's raise awareness through art, music, and writing. We know that we have different talents, all of us. It is a nutshell, yes. We have a role in ending child hunger and malnutrition. It is hard to believe, yes. Believe in yourself and you can do it. Thank you.
That was a quite powerful presentation from Unati. Can we give her another huge round of applause? Okay, so she was saying that we as children, we have the power. We have the power to make it so. So I shall now call upon Tadiwa. Tadiwa Nashe.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, fellow advocates. I am Tadiwa Nashe Mashunganyika, Child Ambassador for Rushinga. And I stand before you today not only because there is hunger and malnutrition ravaging our communities, but also because there is hope for a brighter future. As communities, we can come together to end hunger and malnutrition, and I would like to share with you what I think we can do. As communities, we can join to form community kitchens as well as community projects through the use of community savings so that we become self-sufficient and also be able to help provide for the vulnerable. We can engage in school feeding programs where children are fed using the small contributions made by locals in money and kind so that a child has at least one hot meal per day. We can have nutrition and cooking classes where locals are taught about good nutrition and food preservation skills so that in times of good harvest, food can be stored for future use. Communities can grow drought-resistant crops and rear drought-resistant animals, as well as practice irrigation so as to increase the possibility of a good harvest. We can also advocate for policies that support food security and good nutrition. We can work with local leaders to push for changes that ensure that every child has enough food to help them grow and bloom to their full potential. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, fellow advocates, the underlying factor to all these possible solutions is unity. United we stand, divided we fall. Surely if we're united, we can end hunger and malnutrition. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
We heard what she said. She said that united we stand and divided we fall. She also emphasized on the point of being self-sufficient. We are supposed to go back there and not sit on our hands, but rather go and make gardens. How many are promising that they're going to go back there and make gardens? Oh, a number of you are going to do so. So I shall now call upon Mirirai Ishe. Let's give her a round of applause.
Okay, so I heard there's the co-MC, the co-minister, the co-national director. Okay, greetings everyone. I am Miration Vikeri, the junior senator from Boyera High School, from Boyera District National High School. We thank you all for having us and spending your time listening to us as children. Before I go any further, I applaud the government of Zimbabwe for introducing the feeding program in schools. It has really changed a lot of lives. I remember this time when I went to Gokweni Mbudzia, where I stayed with my grandmother. I would go to school hungry, not because I had no appetite, but at the time, it just didn't allow me to have breakfast when I went to school. But thank you, the government of Zimbabwe. Sadza, nyama, manuchu, taipiwa tichidya, ndichifara nevamwe, tichiswera takadaro. As we move on, us as children, we ask for support from our policymakers to schools and partners to increase the quantity and quality of the food that children are being given at school. Most of the children in schools wake up from their rural communities to school with empty stomachs. I think the program should start early in the morning, maybe with porridge, to just give them porridge so that increase at school during the whole time that they are at school. For support to improve the diet. We want better food for every child with all the essential nutrients needed to prevent malnutrition. We also ask for support in adding more irrigation systems in rural communities for the nutritional gardens, which would increase food production. Please don't get tired. We can do this. We want hunger and malnutrition to be a story to tell. That there was once hunger, but not no more. It ended in 2025. We thank you.
That was quite powerful. So we as children, we are asking for you as the government and other officials to include us in policy discussions so that we ensure of children in policy discussions on issues related to hunger and malnutrition, with particular emphasis on adolescents' health and nutrition and other issues affecting girls. Because it is said that anything for children without us as children is not for us. I hope you get it. Yes. So we are now moving on to the prayer session, which is going to be led by Karen. May we give her a round of applause.
Good
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, what's up with the dull faces? Didn't we go for tea break? Smile a little. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols duly observed. My name is Pai. I'll be taking you through the prayer session. Thank you very much. With me, I have a jar. Can anyone guess what's in this jar? Prayers from thousands, not thousands, but from a lot of children around Zimbabwe. World Vision has managed to actually gather a few children to write down their prayers, what they want and what they need. So I'll be taking you through the prayer session. First and foremost, I would like to ask Linda to ask the 6 children that were chosen yesterday to read out their prayers so that I can summarize some of them and actually explain some of them. Thank you. Linda. People smile. Smiling is important. She's smiling. Smile, please. Who's the first? Thank you. Start.
I'm back again. Nasim Chandi Guta. So I pray for a world where every child has enough food to grow to their full potential, and a world where children's voices are heard and respected. Thank you.
Thank you. I pray for the projects supporting the school feeding programs to grow big and last longer. Thank you.
I'm Munashe. Let me read my prayer here. I pray for strength to be able to achieve ending child hunger and malnutrition in the world.
Okay. I pray for all my friends around Zimbabwe to get enough food, go to school every day, and concentrate on their studies. Thank you. Thank you, my fellow youth advocates.
There's still Kelly left.
Kelly, okay, sorry.
I pray for orphans and children with the disabilities to have enough food and rains. Let us pray for parents to be able to provide food for their families.
Dynamite comes in small packages. Kelly and her friend are proof of that. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not just prayers, but they are visions. What we want to see in the world. We want to see a world where we don't have to go to school on hungry stomachs. We want to see a world where everyone is happy and rejoicing in the classroom. We want to see a world where children are thriving. Underline the word thriving in the classroom, where the pass rates in schools are astonishing. Ladies and gentlemen, what's with the dull faces, people? Please smile. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here today to make a difference. This is the first step that we are taking to answering these prayers. These are not just prayers, as I said. We are praying and wishing for a change, a better Zimbabwe, better economy, a better nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the government of Zimbabwe and World Vision for the amazing work they are doing in order to ending child hunger and malnutrition. It's not an easy step. She talked about 2 years back, the planning, the precision, the time it took for us to actually reach where we are today and say that we are launching the Enough campaign. It doesn't take one person, but it takes an entire community. It takes a nation to build a firm foundation for our country. Ladies and gentlemen, with this said, I would like to say, wisdom for leaders. I pray that our leaders of Zimbabwe are given wisdom by the Lord God himself, for them to actually lead us into a brighter future. We pray for concentration in the classroom. You cannot concentrate with the thought of a hungry stomach, with the sound of the growling stomach in you. Like in classroom, how do you focus, people? Here you want to listen to the maths teacher explaining quadratic equations, and then there's that sound in your stomach that... People, how do you focus? We want to concentrate in the classroom. We don't want to see a situation where children are dropping out of school. We don't want to see a situation where children are getting into early pregnancies, where children are getting into early marriages, where children have to resort to drugs and substance abuse. It doesn't start with me. It starts with us as a whole, as a nation, as Zimbabwe. Enough to child hunger and malnutrition. Enough is enough. We need enough food and enough nutrition. With this said, ladies and gentlemen, may I please ask you all to stand and join hands as I pray. Please join hands. We come before your throne this morning to pray for all the children around the world, around Zimbabwe. We pray for leadership, for wisdom in our leadership. We pray for you to guide us into a path of righteousness. We ask you, Father Lord, to guide us as we are your children. We come before your throne to ask you to shower us with mercy and blessings as we walk on this righteous path. Father Lord, we want to eradicate child hunger and malnutrition in our communities and our country. We want to eradicate child and drugs and substance abuse. We want to build a brighter future for generations to come. We want the practices and the projects that we are making in each and every community to last for a lifetime, for our future generations to see that the Enough campaign was here and it was able to do this. We pray that we are able to actually stand firm and united in eradicating child hunger and malnutrition. I pray, we pray as a whole and as a nation. We pray before you, Lord. We ask you for mercy, guidance, blessings, and wisdom. Shower us with your mercy and blessings. Father, Lord, I pray that you continue to do the works you do. We know we should put you in the forefront of everything, and you will guide us and take us on a path of righteousness. With this said, ladies and gentlemen, amen.
That was quite powerful. What do you say? What does the church say? Yes. So we're now moving on to the next session, which is the children participating in ending child hunger and malnutrition video. So we shall receive a presentation in the form of a video from Tadiwa, whereby Tadiwa was pushing and advocating for ending child hunger and bringing out some of the effects which are a result of child hunger and malnutrition. So okay, whilst we're waiting for the presentation, let me bring out some of the issues which are being caused by hunger and malnutrition, some of which... Oh, okay. Sorry.
Hello everyone, I am Tadiwa, Child Ambassador for Rushinga constituency, and I feel honored to enlighten you today about World Vision's Enough campaign, which is a program that aims at eliminating child hunger and malnutrition in our communities. When we did nutrition dialogues, several issues were highlighted. There is the issue of poor performance in schools as a child cannot concentrate on an empty stomach. Child marriages. Girls are being married off at tender ages so as to help find food for the family. Child labor. Some young boys and girls are going off to work so as to help fend for the family. In order to survive, young girls are indulging in sexual activities which exposes them to sexually transmitted diseases as well as teenage pregnancies. Despite these challenges, there are young, dedicated children that are fighting so hard in order to reach their goals. And this makes me happy and it gives me hope. As a child ambassador that is passionate about representing other children, I believe that there are many ways to tackle these challenges. There is the issue of school feeding programs where children can be fed in schools. There is the issue of community projects and community kitchens. Let us also not forget about child participation in policy making. This is a call to action. Come and join World Vision's Enough campaign as we strive to eliminate child hunger and malnutrition in communities. Thank you.
Her name is Tadiwa. An enough round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I did say earlier that the future of Zimbabwe is in safe hands. These young people are doing amazing. May you please stand up? All the kids in the room, may you please stand up so that we can give you another enough round of applause. Brilliant. As the adults, we are super proud. And just taking from the speeches, starting, the program when we were launching, officially launching, I managed to pick up that there's a lot of information to learn, a lot of information to consume. And I know that there are people in the room that are wondering, do we have a platform to even ask questions or maybe comment on some of the things that have been spoken by our speakers? We will be having a question and answer segment before we end the program. So if you have any questions, any comments, please kindly just note them down so that we can move with the microphone in the room and answer to those questions. Children, you may sit. Thank you. Well, at this moment, I will invite our National Director to join us as he introduces representatives from UNICEF, WFP, Scaling Up Nutrition, and the Ministry of Health and Childcare. Let's give him another round of applause.
Good morning once again. Everyone has said World Vision will not do this alone. And we have heard what government is doing, what other stakeholders are doing, what so many other INGOs and local organizations are doing. It's a call to action. It's a collective effort. In a better world where we would have more time, we would have called everyone to come and speak. But it's not possible. It's a half-day launch. So I want to introduce first my two sisters from WFP and the UNICEF. Barbara, do you want to stand? You. And Barbara, I've known her very well. For a short time we've worked together. She would like to introduce herself.
My name is Barbara Clemens. My name is Barbara Clemens. I'm the new country director for the World Food Program. Although new in that role, not new to Zimbabwe, I served here from 2008 to 2012, previously with WFP. Thank you.
And from UNICEF, we have Madame Mara Nyao. She is the Chief of Nutrition for UNICEF Zimbabwe. And briefly, she can also introduce herself.
Thank you very much, Hassan. Good morning, colleagues. I'm Mara Nyao. I'm the Chief of Nutrition, as has already been said. And I'm here representing Etona, who is our representative for UNICEF in Zimbabwe. Thank you.
And I don't know if Tendai is online. Tendai Gunda? Sorry. Oh, she sent a video. We also hear from Tendai. Tendai is the regional representative for nutrition scale up. So she will also speak to us. From the Ministry of Health, we have the Deputy Director for Nutrition who also speak. I'm introducing all of them because they will speak in that order. Mr. Njovo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Andrea Njovo, Deputy Director of Nutrition Service in the Ministry of Health and Childcare. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the guest of speaker, the guest of honor, Dr. George Campbell, the Director General for the Nutrition Council of Zimbabwe, the Food and Nutrition Council of Zimbabwe. Just a few words. You've been sitting for a long time. You're not speaking. Introduce yourself properly.
Thank you, Hassan. You know, my English is not good. I most of the time I exchange error with ara. So when I saw your surname written Goloa, I thought it was Goroa, our former player. But I'm not a Dynamos fan. I'm George Campbell, the Director General for Food and Nutrition Council, and I'm excited to be part of the team that is pushing for improvement in terms of nutrition. Thank you. I'm sure it's 1-2 testing my voice, eh?
We really appreciate our speakers and our colleagues, partners, and stakeholders that are in the room. We all appreciate all of you. You've been invited because you're part of this process, and there are so many others that are not even in the room. It's a collective effort. We'll start to hear from Barbara, and then Mara, and then we'll watch a video from Tendai, and then we'll hear from the Mr. Njovo from the Minister of Health, and then finally we'll hear from our guest of honor in that order. So this is a section of speeches, and we really want to appreciate our elders who are in the room. Barbara, please, it's over to you.
Thank you, Hassan, and thank you, everyone, for being here. I'll start off. I'm going to veer from my speech that was prepared for me because I want to share some things about myself that I think that you will see why I'm here in Zimbabwe. Despite my accent, I'm from Liberia. My mother is an American, and my mother, like me, was in this line of work. And I find it extremely, extremely concerning because I remember many of the things that I come home and I complain about. She used to do the same thing. So I find it very, very disturbing that 50 years later, we're still debating about the same thing. I think one thing is very clear, and we need to be very honest with our young people who I'm overwhelmed by what I heard today from them. Let's be extremely clear that there is more than enough food and resources in this world. None of them, not in Zimbabwe, not anywhere in the world, should children not have access. So food is available. What is the challenge is that they may not have access, and when they do have access, it may not be utilized in a way that will give them maximum food security and nutrition security always. So for all of the adults in the room, I think that this concept of enough, it is enough, and we do have the ability on our watch to eliminate food insecurity as well as nutritional insecurity. So I challenge us to do that. Having said that, thank you so much, Hassan, for including me. It doesn't make sense that the statistics remains staggering for millions of children around the world to go hungry. Some of the speakers were actually reminding us that besides a school meal or lunch, they should have school breakfast as well, because they need that to thrive. No child should go to bed hungry. Their futures are threatened by the lack of nutritious food. And you shouldn't have to worry about that. That should not be your concern in an ideal world, at least in the world that we are thriving for. In Zimbabwe, we see firsthand how climate shocks, rising food costs, and poverty contributes to malnutrition. Too many of us are faced with an impossible choice. Impossible perspectives where our children pay the ultimate price they should not have to. At WFP, we say, along with you, Hassan and World Vision, it is enough. Enough to children suffering from hunger and malnutrition. Enough to families struggling to put food on the table. In so doing, our children are being left behind. We know that there is enough food everywhere, for everyone. What's missing is access and the collective will to ensure that the right benefit, food benefit, is received by the right people all of the time. And that's on us. We should make that happen. WFP's partnership with World Vision and many of you here evidences our commitment to ensuring that children of Zimbabwe should always have access to nutritious food in order to grow, thrive, and to reach your full potential, because the future is yours. And I think our legacy is to ensure that you do have a future. That's something that we can pass on to you. World Vision, let's continue our efforts to break the cycle of hunger and malnutrition. And in so doing, I think we can look back with no regrets that we have left any child or anyone behind. I thank you. I'm honored that you considered me and asked me to come here and speak. But I challenge myself and I challenge you all to ending child food insecurity as well as nutrition security. Thank you.
Another big round of applause for Barbara Clements. Thank you, ma'am. I'll also take this opportunity to invite Mara Nyao. She is the Chief of Nutrition at UNICEF. A round of applause.
Thank you very much, and good morning once again. Honourable junior parliamentarians, the Director General of the Food and Nutrition Council, Director of World Vision, and other directors and UN representatives here present, children, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm here on behalf of Etona Ekoli, who is the UNICEF representative here in Zimbabwe. So we are all here today for a critical agenda that affects all aspects of our society. We all know that malnutrition in early childhood increases the risk of a child dying by up to 12 times and is an underlying cause for almost 50% of child deaths. Poor nutrition affects not only how children grow physically, but also how their brains develop. And children who don't get enough of the right nutrients in the first 2 years of their lives are destined to perform worse in school and earn less as adults, perpetuating the cycle of poverty and underdevelopment. Zimbabwe has made great progress in eliminating child malnutrition, largely through a network of decentralized support at district and community levels. And thanks to this work that's led by the government of Zimbabwe, we have around 50,000 less stunted children today in Zimbabwe compared to 20 years ago. While this is a really great achievement, there's still more work to do. In Zimbabwe today, 25% of children under 5 years are living in severe child food poverty, and that means they're typically eating from just 2 food groups or less every day. And also recent data from the Food and Nutrition Council and UNICEF has shown that 1 in every 10 school children aged between 10 and 17 years experiences significant food insecurity on a daily basis. In the words of one of our junior advocates before, this is painful to hear. As a global community, we know how this cycle of malnutrition and poverty can be stopped. As World Vision is saying today, children just need enough nutritious foods, especially in their earliest moments, from conception onwards, at the time when their brains and their bodies are growing the fastest, and the foundations for their futures are being laid. We have already heard this morning from previous speakers that the right to good nutrition for all children everywhere is a basic child right, and it's one that this campaign is contributing towards achieving. Eliminating all forms of malnutrition is also a core component of UNICEF's Africa strategy. Improving nutrition for children, adolescents, women, and men will require an array of different strategies, including, for instance, multi-sectoral approaches and increasing the number of babies who are exclusively breastfed, and also regulating and improving our food system here in Zimbabwe, which determines the foods that are available to us and the food choices that we make on a daily basis. Children's first foods, the foods that young children eat from 6 months of age, need particular attention. And this is all part and parcel of World Vision's Enough campaign. The Enough campaign shows that we can all unite towards a common goal and achieve good nutrition for every child. As we've already heard from the World Vision Director, none of us can do this alone. UNICEF is committed to working together with the government of Zimbabwe, with World Vision, and with all nutrition partners to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mara. And I think for now we can shift our attention to the big screens for scaling up nutrition and hear from Tendai Gunda.
Representative for the Sun Movement in Anglophone Africa. I am deeply honored to join you in this critical fight against malnutrition in Zimbabwe. Good morning, everyone. I stand before you today as the regional representative for the Sun Movement in Anglophone Africa. I am deeply honored to join you in this critical fight against malnutrition in Zimbabwe. The Enough campaign is a powerful movement, one that resonates deeply with the core mission of the Sun Movement to end all forms of malnutrition by 2030. We are united by a shared vision of a Zimbabwe where every child, every woman, and every man has the opportunity to thrive, to reach their full potential, free from the debilitating effects of hunger and malnutrition. While we celebrate the progress Zimbabwe has made over the past 15 years in reducing undernutrition, with stunting and wasting indicators showing very positive trends, the reality is that we must sustain and accelerate these gains if we are to achieve our goal of ending all forms of malnutrition by 2030. The recent deceleration in our progress is a stark reminder that we cannot afford to rest on our laurels. We see the impact of malnutrition in the stunted growth of children, the weakened immune systems of mothers, the lost potential of entire communities. This is not just a health issue. It is a developmental issue, holding back our nation's progress and hindering our ability to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The Enough campaign offers a beacon of hope. It is a call to action, a demand for accountability, and a commitment to ending this injustice. It recognizes that ending malnutrition requires a full multi-sectoral approach, one that brings together government, civil society, the private sector, and communities in a fight to end all forms of malnutrition. The SUN movement stands in solidarity with the Enough campaign. We believe that a strong and bold nutrition for growth commitment from Zimbabwe government is crucial. This commitment must be backed by concrete actions and implemental strategies that address the root causes of malnutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you all to support the government of Zimbabwe in formulating robust nutrition for growth commitments, and you as individual entities to also develop strong and bold nutrition commitments in support of Zimbabwe's strategic direction to end all forms of malnutrition. We urge you to work with the government and support the government in developing robust strategies, especially strategies around financing, establishing financing mechanisms and building an infrastructure that gives Zimbabwe the ability and capacity to finance its nutrition agenda. The time to act is now. We are facing unprecedented economic challenges with the shrinking donor fiscal space. This demands that Zimbabwe takes ownership of its nutrition agenda, investing in its own people and in its own future. This is not just a matter of compassion. It is a matter of national growth, human capital development, economic prosperity, and social justice. Let us stand together, united in our commitment to ending all forms of malnutrition in Zimbabwe. Let us make our voices heard, demand action, demand accountability, and demand a future where every Zimbabwean has the opportunity to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Thank you.
Connecting with us remotely there, that's Tendai Gunda, speaking passionately about our topic today, or rather the Enough campaign that we are launching, and will say that you and I are enough to put an end to world hunger, or rather child hunger and malnutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite from the Ministry of Health and Childcare, the Deputy Director, Andrea Njovo, to give us his national nutrition remarks. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, KVG. I thought maybe I should make sure that the pulpit is safe for the Director General, but nonetheless, if it explodes, the KVG send me to stand here. So, Joe has said, I'm representing the Ministry of Health and Childcare, specifically the National Nutrition Unit. For us, the Enough End Child Hunger Now campaign, I think it comes at an opportune time where we've just had a report showing that up to around 580,000 of our children are suffering from severe food poverty. And evidence is also showing that up to 50% of these children will get to have life-threatening malnutrition. So if you are to do the numbers there, you will see that we are sitting at a bomb, which might result in about 250,000 or more of our children suffering from malnutrition. So really, the campaign comes in at a time where we are having these statistics coming in, and then there's need for us to really take action. So as the Ministry of Health, we are committed to expanding and enhancing community-based nutrition programs, and specifically using our community health workers. For us, we believe that they are a key player because they are with the communities, they are with the children, they are with the families, and they know what's happening within these families. And their role then is to ensure that the nutrition and health programs that we are pushing to the communities are taken up. They are our advocates, they are our implementers as well. We also believe that we should be taking a life cycle approach. Yes, we are talking about child hunger, but who is the caregiver to the child? When you talk about the first 1,000 days, which we are talking about conception to 2 years. So this speaks to also taking care of the mother, taking care of the household. So we believe that breastfeeding is the cornerstone of our child nutrition, and we are dedicated to promoting exclusive breastfeeding. And I'm happy that Mr. Zombe was speaking to some of the policy findings that they had. But I'm sure if I go to talk about the recently gazetted public health breast milk substitutes infant nutrition regulations. These are regulations which are there to protect how we are feeding our child. We know that there are companies out there who wants to promote their, let me avoid names of products, but the high sugar, high salt, high fat products to our children. And we're having these regulations to try and mitigate on that. And as a ministry, we say we will push that. And I'm sure for its implementation, we will need everyone to be part and parcel of that process. We're talking about school nutrition program. We are happy that it's there. And as a ministry, we have gone further to develop a school nutrition guideline, which speaks to not only the school feeding part, but the nutrition screening within the schools, promoting physical activity, and foremost, the school environment. If you get to any school, just pick any school, you will see that at the gate, there are our go-go's, our sisters, our brothers selling sweets and those other food products. So we are trying to push for an environment which then protects the child from such marketing and such exposures. So as we proceed, I'm sure the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education will be part and parcel of the process to ensure that we are promoting an environment which then protects the child from such exposures. Then also, we are also moving forward with the supplementation of our adolescents with the iron folate. As a country, we have, I think, around 70% of our women of childbearing age having iron deficiency, and that is inclusive of our adolescents. So, iron folate supplementation will be part and parcel of our interventions as we are moving on with the campaign. Then also of importance is then the management of acute malnutrition. Yes, we are pushing to end hunger, but we also get cases where we need to manage. And as a ministry, we are committed to ensure that we are providing that program. It's a life-saving intervention, and it should be coming at a timely and appropriate place where we are having also our community health workers, our health facilities ready to manage such cases and ensure that we avoid deaths, especially from hunger and malnutrition. And lastly, we commit to the Enough End Hunger campaign now, and we believe that by working together with our partners, stakeholders, communities, we can make a significant impact in fight against child hunger. And we call on all sectors. Remember, malnutrition and hunger issues are a multi-sectoral issue, not only from the 4 ministries that were mentioned by my brother Kuda, but I think it's a whole of government approach, whole of partnership approach, where everyone needs to be putting their hands on the deck to ensure that we are then moving forward. And we call upon all sectors of society to join in this critical endeavor and ensure that no child in Zimbabwe goes to bed hungry. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njovo. Can we all say enough? I need a big one. Can we all say enough? And that's the reason why we're here, because we believe that as a collective, you and I, we have the power. We are enough to end child hunger and malnutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please stand as we give a big round of applause to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. George Kembo, who is the Director General, Food and Nutrition Council of Zimbabwe, to give us the keynote speech. A round of applause.
Thank you. I'm not so sure if I may ask you to take seats or we can continue in this arrangement. Please take seats. Thank you so much. So when are we having another campaign? Because the only time I see people standing up is when you have politicians. So I'm going to ensure that my speech also connects with the politician because of the honor. Thank you so much, events director. I'm not going to use the initial. Yes. And the co-colleagues, the students. But more importantly, let me also thank the strategic leadership of World Vision under the leadership of Dr. Tafadzwa Matsika. It is to define the vision and the aspiration of an organization that results with such high impact why we are gathered here. Thank you so much for coming. It's also important also to connect with the reality to see to what extent is our management fitting into our aspiration. Mr. Asani Golowa, we thank you for this. Allow me to acknowledge the ambassadors, your excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps here present. Allow me to acknowledge my friend and my colleague, Barbara Clemens, the country director for WFP. You know, I like the coincidence of Barbara being in Zimbabwe. You know, the events that were happening in 2008, things missing from the shops, Barbara was here. It was her first year. I'm not going to talk about Anne Richards and OK. Again happening, but I'm not saying anything about Barbara. Welcome, Barbara. It's just a coincidence that happened. Also, junior parliamentarians, the kids, and especially the one who gave us the prayer and who was asking us to smile or laugh. But you need to know that the way we were preached and taught about religion is the only time you see someone so serious and afraid of them is when they go to pray. Even men who start recorrecting their jackets and try to be as serious as they can. And some would wish if they could cut their hair during that time. So it was difficult for us to smile before prayers because we were not taught like that. But remember, children are the agents of change. They bring new ways of doing things. So thank you so much for that. So representing the junior parliamentarians, I want to thank you all. Senior government officials, my colleagues, Andrea worked together very well. The UN colleagues represented by the Maras. I see the resident coordinator's office is well represented here. It's good that His Excellency, the ambassador, is represented by our norm, which is extended representation, is here. So we believe your presence is an endorsement of all the UN to this effort. So thank you so much, World Vision, for ensuring this. My being chosen to be the guest of honor, initially I thought they had identified me and recognized me as an individual. But when they started talking about the mandate and the role and the responsibility of FNC, which is the multi-sectorialism and the voice of the different stakeholders centered within the Architect of Food and Nutrition Council, then I realized, no, I was not chosen as George Campbell, but I was chosen as the Food and Nutrition under the Office of the President and Cabinet to reflect the Supreme Office endorsement to this campaign as reflected by other government colleagues supporting me here. So thank you so much. So I will also take note of that. Members of the media and also all protocols observed. I have been, you know, when I came here, I had my prepared speech. But as people were making their presentation, talking about the issues, one of my advisors was busy writing on my speech to the extent that I couldn't even read the handwriting. So what did I do? I ended up taking Mr. Golowa's speech. So that's the one I'm going to read. So I need to remember to. So in summary, we have an issue of nutrition, which is why we are here, which brings us together, the common enemy, which is all forms of malnutrition. And that's what we need to address. So we as government has already identified this as a major impediment to economic growth and development. I think for those who know history, from 1992, during the FAO World Food Summit, that was the decision where member states were endorsed to the need to come up with a multi-sectorial coordination body because they had appreciated that food and nutrition is multifaceted. Its cause and association cannot be linked to one element. It's different depending on the geographical area, depending on its environment. So in Zimbabwe, to fast forward, we came up with a nutrition narrative, which is how do you summarize the efforts and aspiration we want to do as a country in terms of the nutrition. Why did we have to come up with a nutrition narrative? Because sometimes we miss the nutrition under the auspices of energy availability. It doesn't mean if we produce adequate maize, we are nutrition secure. No. So what did we do? On number one, we said healthy and nutrition. One, healthy for better nutrition. Save one, save all. That's what Minister of Health have said. I hope they will save us because they were supporting the issue of skipping tea. I was saying, but we are saying enough with saving resources, World Vision. And Minister of Agriculture have said food system, feeding, but also added nourishing the nation. You see, this is where we come in. Nourishing. It's not about just the energy, and energy, but it's about the diversity of the food. It's about the availability of the food. It's about all the necessary ingredients of an enhanced and improved livelihood situation within our lifestyles. And that's what we are saying. And also we have said, no, but for all these things to happen, you need the money, you need finance. And we are challenging the treasurer to say, we know that the treasurer's cake is very small. But however, we need to know what is the ingredient that feed into the treasurer's cake. It's the human capital that we have, is the productivity that is happening in the industry. So without the nutrition status being addressed, you are already destroying a future inflow of resources. So we need money, we need to fund the activities, we need to fund this, we need to pay the facilitator adequately so that people would see that she's coming from an enough campaign, enough with underpaying, enough with limited investment in nutrition. So we are saying, let's invest in nutrition. Let's also invest in national development. We have a kid who was talking about water. And you know, water is very critical. Water and sanitation issues are also central within the livelihood and the environment in which children live, and even us, and they contribute to nutrition. So we have said labor. One of the issues that, and I was saying, we are talking of enough here about children. I thought we were going to see like an identified point for breastfeeding mothers, but I'm sure that World Vision before this event had to screen to make sure that if you are breastfeeding, you are not invited. So this is what we are talking about now, our nutrition narrative. Labor is important, but it also has to be looked at from a nutrition perspective and ensure that industry and trade give recognition to the requirement of the upkeep of the children. And we also talk about governance, which is what our colleague was presenting, the policy. Is there a political will? We can say yes. But however, why we are here is to also understand and measure the difference between lip service, which is our pronouncement of words, and the reality that is happening on the ground. So we want to do that. So it talks about the 10 components. It also includes research and development. What we are saying is we want to challenge the academia, and I'm happy that we have the University of Zimbabwe, which is our Scaling Up Nutrition Research and Academia Secretariat, who are here. We have challenged them to say, come up with research and influence policy. We want policy that are shaped with the desire to address nutrition. So that's what we have said as a country. And we want to thank the stakeholders, our UN colleagues, and our development partners, NGOs, and all private sector who were there. So that's what we are saying. So in response to what we have been hearing, that's what we are doing. Let's promote nutrition. Back to the prepared speech, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, as the country's convener for scaling up nutrition, you know, I am the convener by virtue of being the Director General in the Food and Nutrition Council, to which all, if not all, African countries are members to. It is also a pleasure to be part of this forum and also to be the guest of honor. I'm extremely happy and feel deeply honored to stand before you at this crucial moment, and also to talk about the Enough campaign. So when you know, one of the weaknesses that destroys us is sometimes we fear words for fear of the words. So when Hassan says, George, I want you to come and the media and everyone to talk about enough campaign. I said, but right now, during these days, there's too much media. Am I coming out to say enough? But it's good that the children have preempted my speech. Enough to do with the hunger. So that's what we are talking about, colleagues. So it's enough to do with the hunger and all forms of malnutrition. Looking at the tremendous expertise gathered here today and taking note of earlier speakers, we have talked about that. I don't think I need to talk about why when it comes to the Enough campaign. Why should I talk about Enough campaign? We know it. We are the expertise. We know the problem we have been facing. One thing I like about the science is not off track. Science is a reality. If you grow up without the necessary nutrition requirement as you grow up, it will manifest itself at a later stage. During the growth stage, something was missing in terms of the micronutrients. So that's what we are saying, enough, because we want to create lively, productive future generation so that we don't suffer from all those malnutrition-related symptoms that affect us. We all know about the multifaceted nature of malnutrition, with the cause not just linked to diet, but also challenging climate-related shock stressors that has aggravated hunger and malnutrition in the country. But remember, as we talk about enough, we need to be sensitive that we need to also to talk about overweight, obesity, and chronic diseases that are at play, which is creating a triple burden of malnutrition. So we have both under, over, and macronutrient deficiencies. And for those who follow science, you know what it is saying? I'm one of the overweight persons, so don't worry about yourself. But what you need to worry about yourself is WHO has already predicted that there will be 77% increase of cancer cases by year 2050, from 20 million to 35 million, because of the combination of what they call early warning indicators: obesity, overweight, and health lifestyles. So if you are obese and overweight and you don't exercise or you don't do other things, you might be prone to the cancer as they predicted. So as we address undernutrition, we also need to address overnutrition. That's why we talk as government in terms of all forms of malnutrition. So as a country, we have come to conclude that malnutrition is expensive. It erodes and undermines the prosperity of women, men, also their families and our countries. It contributes to poverty by increasing mortality, increasing susceptibility to diseases, impaired cognitive development, educational achievement, which Mara has highlighted very well, reducing work capacity and productivity in adulthood. As the government of Zimbabwe, we have long prioritized nutrition through multi-sectorial and multidisciplinary approach through its overarching policy framework, which our consultant has presented, the National Development Strategy 1, the Food and Nutrition Security Policies. All those documents reflect a shared vision and shared approach in addressing all forms of malnutrition. We also add to this policy the Agriculture Investment Plan, which also reflects the need to address malnutrition. I've also found that these policies and strategies are evidence of 3 key ingredients. So when you look at these evidences, to me, I've said they are the recipe of success. Remember, we are used to the recipe of disaster. So they talk about the need to have government ownership. Development partners, their role is to complement government, and we appreciate that. So government needs to be on the forefront for them to be complemented. It's for those who have done a 4x4, it's also difficult to run a relay when the one who is supposed to be ahead is behind you. So it's a very difficult situation. So as government, we will have ownership in acknowledging the reality we face on the ground, and we will lead. And also, it also talks about the multi-sectorialism, working together, working across each other, accepting the divergence, but also working in individual sectors, but contributing toward the convergence of effort to ensure that there's a nutrition outcome and impact. It also talks about multi-stakeholder collaboration aligned with implementation and investment. Let's work together. This is a very good reflection of multi-sectorialism and working together. Instead of us seeing each other as competitors to World Vision, we are seeing each other as complementers and contributors to World Vision's efforts. Because the impact of the Enough campaign is an impact to the country, and we are part of the Zimbabwe, and we will remain committed to that. We also take note that through the Ministry of Agriculture and relevant ministries, we have been doing the necessary intervention, implementing robust programs for vulnerable, including children and women, and we are being told about the food distribution, the meals that we get. And when the children were talking about the meals, I realized that that culture of serving meals, especially when visitors are coming, it's still in here. You remember when we say let's go for a school feeding visits, that day you hear children say, "Hey, today nasina pora kawanda wena. Hey, that's what beans kawazona and nasa. So I picked that, okay, sometimes we do things for visitors. So when I came in here, I saw these 4 chairs. And I said, maybe they were going to be for the speakers, Vanamara and Barbara. But I realized, no, they are for decoration, the way we also do it. So I thought before coming here, they were asking me to sit on these chairs. I realized, no, they are meant for decoration. So what I'm advocating for is, let's not have school meals improved on the day of visit. They need to eat that every day. Because the way we were presenting about the intervention here, why do we still have a problem? Are we saying science is not also collaborating? It means there's something not happening. It is happening when we are going there. And it is not happening when we are not there. In one of the schools, we went there unannounced. We saw, you wonder. It is just carbohydrates, it was sadza and my vegetables. And I said, we are recording that we are doing school feeding. Sadza, no murio. And when you look at the vegetables, you have to have the spectacles like me. There is mafuta. Because you struggle to see the cooking oil in that meal. And we are doing that. But what do we record? The number of children we have lined up for that school meal. So we need to address nutrition in terms of dietary diversity and what we are providing to the children. And for the school kids here, please enjoy the meal today. I hope that World Vision will recognize the effort and impact you have contributed here and continue supporting you when you go back to Mzungwani, to all those places. Please, and I hope so. We are therefore pleased to witness the complementary efforts of World Vision towards addressing hunger and malnutrition and also improving nutrition status for our children. The Enough campaign, which is why we are here, resonates deeply with government's commitment towards eradicating hunger and all forms of malnutrition. The campaign seeks to amplify our advocacy efforts and mobilize resources, expertise, and community engagement to combat child hunger and malnutrition. We acknowledge the complexity of these and that these issues demands collaborative approach, one that involves government, civil society, the private sector. I saw the private sector here, communities working hand in hand. Together, we must improve access to nutritious food, particularly for the most vulnerable population, strengthen health systems to effectively tackle malnutrition and the related issues. It's so impressive that you get a colleague from the Ministry of Health sharing statistics of the reality that is on the ground. The yesteryear of keeping away and being relevant by keeping statistics away from the public, it's a thing of the past. Let's share the statistics to cause action. And we encourage each other to do that. Let's promote sustainable livelihoods and climate resilience agriculture, and more importantly, support education awareness initiatives. There's a program actually which is informing all these statistics. There was a deliberate effort to say, mostly when you do surveys, you go to the household, you ask the mother, and the mothers are behaving like the country director for World Vision to put chairs which are not being used. So we also realize that sometimes the dietary consumption we are hearing about the children are not a reality. So we went for the food security survey, which we call CFIES, which Mara was presenting. That's why you are beginning to see alarming statistics. Now we were asking the children, without the presence of the mother. Remember, in our culture, if you come to our place, we just say, what happened to those biscuits? And we look at you, you say, we ate them yesterday. But you know, for the past 3 months, we never even bought any biscuit. And that's what we were trying to see. And we realized that the statistics are totally different. And when the children speak openly, out without any fear, we really have to do something. We really have to end all forms of hunger and malnutrition. Ladies and gentlemen, it is heartening to note that government, through the Food and Nutrition Council, has already put in place multi-sectorial forums and structures to support efforts of stakeholders. So we have what we call the District Food and Nutrition Security Committees, and I know World Vision has been an active player, and our UN colleagues established them to facilitate work. Let's take this campaign to those structures so that throughout the country, urban and rural, we also replicate this effort. And it's good that we have representatives and students representatives throughout the country. Let's take them to those government structures. Let us therefore leverage on these existing structures as we implement the Enough campaign. You know, one thing I like about, sometimes when you are not interested in knowing the importance of knowledge as a power and as a weapon to influence your behavior and the positive outcome, you think that these advocacy and statements don't serve a purpose. Because what I'm used to is you are called to an event, you're a guest of honor, you speak, you line people, you start giving them something, then you show relevance. But however, this is a process where you are impacting knowledge and you are advocating for a position. This is very important. Because if you have positive knowledge of what you need to do, remember, it is the mind that influences the behavior. And if your mind believes that with the Enough campaign, we can address all forms of malnutrition, the children can start communicating at household level and actually influence the way the parents behave. One of these days, for some of us of my age, 1962 when I was at school, we used to have A, B, C, D, up to Z. So 2 weeks ago, my son had the homework, and it was alphabetical. So I was trying to teach him, say A, B, and he laughed at me. He said, no, dude. That's not how it is now being called. Remember, they are no longer calling it the A, B, C to Z. You see how children becomes an agent of change and influence what we used to know. So let's listen to these children. Let's give them space. Let's allow them to influence how we are doing things. The Enough campaign is not just a call to action, it's a commitment to our children and communities. We believe that together we can make a real difference in the lives of millions of Zimbabweans. Let us join hands to find enough resources to meet the needs of our most vulnerable children. I am pleased to note that World Vision is cognizant of the fact that in order to bring about significant transformation, they cannot go it alone. This, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, is a clarion call to collective action. Let's work together. Let's use this as a reference point. I'm sure, and I hope that the colleagues who are taking the videos, especially from World Vision, will come up with a succinct video, but also be sensitive also of other stakeholders and input their log in the video. Because it's our collective effort. And we use it to share what we are doing, to campaign for this. That way, we have full ownership of the program. And we can also be your ambassadors. When someone comes to my office, I need to play that video. I don't need to say, I'll work with World Vision. They will see it, that I'm collaborating with other stakeholders. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to applaud you all for coming out in your numbers today to witness this momentous occasion. I urge you to continue exhibiting this solidarity as we strive for the realization of the vision, strategic goals, as well as the intended outcome of the Enough campaign. The vision we want, which is everyone free from hunger and all forms of malnutrition, coming from an organization called World Vision, a vision from a vision. Thank you so much, World Vision. Better nourished populations are more economically productive, and Zimbabwe's future economic success lies in increasing human capital. The Enough campaign calls us to be better partners in bringing about the change needed for better nutrition, active and health productive lifestyle. As a country, we have in place a food and nutrition system in place, which we call ZIMLAC nutrition surveys. we need to open it up so that we undertake the necessary researches to identify the malnutrition-related problems and the geographical area to which we find them. We also need to understand that our local efforts is also complemented by the international efforts to which together we address the multifaceted food and nutrition. We continue advocating that our information should speak locally, which is in line with the expectations of the decision makers, but also should be able to be comparative and compared at international level, to which it should also speak within the global arena. As Zimbabwe, we are looking at the best way to which we can represent our results and our information in terms of the nutrition status to influence the resource channeling to our country. And one of the aspects we are going to look at is the importance of the integrated analysis and ensuring that our information is comparable with other countries. So please, we invite you all to participate in this, because for us to measure the impact of enough, remember, enough is not only happening in Zimbabwe. We need to standardize the Zimbabwe reporting with other countries like Zambia, Malawi, and Mozambique. So let's come together to enhance our information system. Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, together we can end child hunger and malnutrition. I'll be counting on you. So before I count on you and trust you, do we remember the motto we were given by Alan? Goroa or Goloa? What is he saying? Let's repeat it. I'm not going to be saying it. You see? People are thinking of lunch. We pledge. Yes, we pledge enough food, enough nutrition for the children of Zimbabwe. So, okay, so I'm not going to end my speech until we can all say that. So let's go. Thank you so much. So we commit to do that. With this, I'm looking forward to seeing the impact of enough campaign at grassroots level in people's day-to-day life. As we articulate our visionary leadership, remember, as a country, our president, His Excellency, they have also said better nutrition is all about people and prosperity. Therefore, leaving no place and no one behind. Let's ensure that we address the multifaceted nature of malnutrition and address the nutrition requirements of our children. With these words, I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor, Dr. George Kembo. And enough applause, please. You may be seated. I might as well use the seats. I'll start with this one and then the next one and the one after that one and the fourth one. Now, we are fast approaching the end of the program, ladies and gentlemen, and I did promise that we will have a question and answer segment for those that have questions, comments. We enjoyed listening to the speakers as they were sharing insightful information about this campaign. And I'm sure that some of you are holding on to questions or comments. So you can just raise your hand and I'll rush to you and you can ask, and I'm sure you'll get responses from the relevant authorities. So if we can get into that for those that have questions about the Enough campaign. Or I can pick randomly. Okay, there you go. Linda, you need to be ready with your mic so that we can do this quickly as well. Yeah?
Thank you very much, Events Director. And thank you all for those that passed to present. I'm just curious about the 500,000 children that were mentioned, and that we have about 250,000. Let me just check my notes again. Right, just a moment. Okay, about 250,000 who are suffering from malnutrition. I think that was the Deputy Director who highlighted these figures. And thanks for sharing those figures with us. But my concern, of course, the World Vision will be able to bring that to an end on their own. and as partners, as stakeholders, we work towards achieving that. But from the government side, I just want to find out what plans are in place to ensure that these children are saved. Maybe most likely, as Mr. Gulu highlighted in the beginning, they are found in 10 provinces, but they've been working on these programs, and different stakeholders here, they also focus on different areas. But just to find out from the government, what are the plans in place?
Thank you. Team World Vision, if you can point me in the direction of someone who can answer this question. The ministry? Okay, Mr. Njoku. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that, and thank you for the question. And what I said was, the data is showing that there is about 580,000 children who are having severe food poverty. And I think from what Mara presented, it's a sign that children are not having nutritious foods, and the risk of having a poor diet is malnutrition. And from the data, it's saying about 50% of those who are in severe food poverty are likely to have life-threatening malnutrition. And we are saying it's a risk. We are not saying these children are already there, but from the government side, I'm sure we are aware that we have the food deficit mitigation strategy through the Ministry of Social Welfare. Also from the ministry side, we have our village health workers. We have trained them to screen and identify malnutrition within these communities and refer to the nearest health facilities. And I'm happy to say that up to 98% of our health facilities are equipped to be able to deal with severe acute malnutrition within these communities. And also with the support from our partners, we are also improving the capacity. We are also already also improving the number of the village health workers that we have, where we are currently having some trainings to beef up, to ensure that all the villages, all the communities have got someone who is there to be also maybe screening and referring children for management. So things are in place to be able to respond and help when there's need. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you're answered, sir. Yes. All right. Anyone else with a question, comment? Or we have had enough? All right, the little person there. Hello.
Greetings to you all. My name is Nongeba Kolosa, head girl in the Magule Primary School, which hosted World Vision International board members. And my question is, what scalable and sustainable solution can the Enough campaign to end hunger and malnutrition in children implement to address the root causes of hunger and malnutrition rather than just providing temporary relief?
Okay, that's a very good question. A very good question there. All right, let me quickly run to you there so that you can get your response.
Thank you. I'm Reverend Taylor Nyanete with Zimbabwe National Council for the Welfare of Children. I just want to hear the experiences of World Vision around the participation of school development committees within this element of school feeding for children. Are they part of that? Because I believe they play an important role as far as the school development is happening within communities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And to respond, Team World Vision.
So before the World Vision management responds, I want to respond to the one of temporal food relief. The danger that we are finding ourselves in, and the one that we're also going to find ourselves again in future, is pointing back again to us as Zimbabweans. World Vision is not going to be here forever. And if it's not going to be here forever, it means that dependence syndrome that we are creating, that we're going to have relief over and over again, is going to become a serious bombshell. And the bombshell might not really affect our generation, it will affect your generation, because we have placed a cancer in you that we are dependent on this thing. When we started off, we complemented two institutions, which is First Mutual and Sifao Toyota, as corporate partners to what we're doing. You realize from a global donor perspective, less than 1% is coming from Africa. Yet Africa is so much dependent on these donor services and contributions. If, and God forbid, someone then comes up and says there is no more donor issues, let countries focus from within, then we'll find ourselves crying even more. So I'd want to urge every corporate player that is around, big or small, that we also need to start contributing. Let this problem become our problem. And if it's not a corporate perspective, let it start as an individual perspective. Tese tine kumusha kwatinobva. And tese takadzidza either kumusha or somewhere else. What are we doing in a smaller little way for those smaller communities, so that we can then afford to run away from your question in terms of temporal relief? It will always remain temporal if we don't buy into it. So enough is enough. We need to start looking also from within. The World Vision Management can then answer it as well.
Thank you so much.
In terms of the questions on the role of SGCs in schools feeding, I think I will request our partners from the Ministry of Education. Currently, as World Vision, we are not running a schools feeding program, but we have a lot of programs that we are implementing in schools related to access and also the provision of infrastructure, the provision of textbooks and other things. But in terms of schools feeding, at the moment, we have that program being run by the relevant ministries. And Ministry of Education, I think they would be best to highlight the role of school development committees in the schools feeding program. Do you have someone from the Ministry of Education? I think we had invited them and we think they are around. Someone from the ministry? What I can say though is for the other programs that we are implementing in schools, there is a lot of participation and we encourage participation from the schools, school development committees. And we're also running programs where we want to capacitate them or working with the ministry to ensure that they play the roles that are expected of them in the governance and support to the schools that is expected of parents. I think that's where I can end, but I cannot specifically speak about the schools feeding program because that is not being run or coordinated by World Vision. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions, comments? All right. Let me come to you, ma'am. We are rounding up our question and answer segment. If you have a question, kindly raise your hand so that I can come to you.
All right, my name is Patience. I'm just going to make a comment on the question that she raised regards sustainability. Buttressing what the gentleman in the corner said, we all have a role to play in ending hunger. From a household level, especially for all urban food systems and mothers here present, we need to teach our kids to avoid food waste at household level. I'm sure most mothers can attest to this. You've got lunch boxes that are coming back and we throw in the bin. Let's match the urban food systems with the rural ones so that we can distribute the available food. Number two, I think one of the things we need to do is to teach nutritional literacy in mothers that are well-funded. We buy a lot of junk food for our kids, and we're looking at this scare, and we are waiting for donors to come and help us. So one of the things that I personally have taken is to teach proper nutrition and decoding food labels for mothers in urban food systems, especially in the private schools. Let's learn to share. Let's learn to distribute what we have. Let's buy what's appropriate for our kids. The triple burden that he was talking about, it's going to catch up with us. It's just a question of time if we continue eating recklessly. So that's my contribution.
Oh, a big round of applause for that comment. Yeah. How many of us are throwing food away after a meal? Any more questions, comments before we shut down our question and answer segment? Any contribution? Right, the little one. I think you're going to be the last one to give us a question.
It's not a question. I'd like to comment on the issue of vendors that sell food outside the school gates. These are the people that are actually selling bad food to children. These are the people that are supplying drugs. We may not see it, not supplying drugs, but the food they're selling, they don't consider the expiry dates. They are not like retail shops that actually consider those things. They just consider the profits they're making. So we should actually look more into these people because they are harming us as the children and as the youth. We should look into these things more carefully and precisely. Thank you. Okay, I'm from Beitbridge Town, all the way Limpopo. Yeah, there. Some of you don't come to Beitbridge, you only go there when you want to go to South Africa. Well, we are from Beitbridge. I'm from Beitbridge.
We're moving on to the next session, which is ending hunger and malnutrition in Zimbabwe, which is going to be led by the child guest of honor, Shadrach Magaya. But before that, I would like to call upon Kelly to give us a poem, which she has prepared for us. Let's give her a huge round of applause, please.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, and all boys and girls. My name is Kelly Masgurizwe. I want to recite my poem on end child hunger and malnutrition. I am a child with a heart so bright, but hunger, pain, and malnutrition plan leave me weak and tired with the future unsure. My empty stomach affect my concentration, and I'm poor. Climate change impact our food. It's a fact, drought is special. The El Nino and Jude drought left us with no hope of a meal. We need climate-resilient crops to grow strong, sustainable farming produces to last all lifelong. To overcome this test, we need to work as one, supporting small-scale farmers. Under the bright sun, we will promote nutrition education to make healthy choices clear and having nutrition garden. As
We will use solar power to pump water into our field and to plant trees to shed our soil and yield. We will protect our environment with love and care and work together to show we truly care. In a word of pen, every child deserves enough food. Let's join hands to end hunger and strife, to build a brighter future for all of our life. We can make a difference every single end. Together, Zimbabwe, we can end child hunger and malnutrition as we make our future grand. Thank you.
That's a quite powerful message from Kelly. Let's give her another huge round of applause. That's good. That's superb. So I will now call upon Honorable Shadrach Magaya. Let's also give him a huge round of applause.
Good day, everyone. Our guests of honor, government officials, child leaders here present, our hosts, World Vision, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I am Honorable Shadrach Magaya, representing Boera West constituency from Akumbe High School. And I would like to say out our pledge as children. As children, we are committed to help our parents and our communities to make sure that every child have enough food, to make sure that hunger and malnutrition is eradicated and eliminated in our country, Zimbabwe. We want to make sure that every child is concentrating, every child is free from the disadvantages of hunger and malnutrition. And we are all saying that in a world of plenty, we deserve to have enough food. We deserve to have enough food. I repeat, we deserve to have enough food. Thank you.
Mr. Magaya, I will ask you to stay with us so that you can join us for the pledge. I would like to invite a special guest here with us. As you can see, we have a board here that says, I pledge to support ending child hunger and malnutrition in Zimbabwe. And I was saying this, collectively, we are enough if we do it together. So allow me to invite our guest of honor again. That's Director General, Dr. George Kembo, to join us. Let's give him a round of applause. World Vision Zimbabwe National Director, Mr. Hassan Goloa, please join us. From UNICEF, Ms. Mara Nyao, please join us. WFP Country Representative, Barbara Clements, if you can join us, ma'am. World Vision Board Chair, Dr. Tafadzwa Matsika, if you can also come through and join us. And from the Ministry of Health and Childcare, the Deputy Director, Mr. Andre Njovo, if you can also join us. Sharon, if you can kindly assist. Shamiso, yes, a big pardon. So we'll start with Vanore Mikedzwabakoro, our guest of honor. If you can just come through and sign as a pledge to supporting ending child hunger and malnutrition in Zimbabwe. And yes, members of the media, you can capture the moment. Thank you, sir. Our National Director, Mr. Hassan. From UNICEF, Mara, if you can also join us. our WFP country representative, Barbara. Thank you, ma'am. A board chair for World Vision Zimbabwe, Dr. Tafadzwa Matsika. What a pledge. Thank you so much. From the Ministry of Health and Childcare, the Deputy Director, Mr. Handren Jovo. From the Ministry of Education, if I can also have a representative to join us. If we have a representative from the Ministry of Education in the room to join us and also make a pledge. All right. No, she's not making up. Mr. Magaya, please. Ngatombe rema okova Magaya. Amenoti vane signature. Yeah, boy. Iyo. Ah, come on. All right, if we can also have a representative from OCHA and FAO to also make a pledge. Thank you, ma'am. Board is almost full, but is it enough? No, it's not. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of Reverend Taylor Nyanete. He is the director of the Zimbabwe National Council for the Welfare of Children. Rev, if you can please come through and also make a pledge, if that's okay. Let's give him a round of applause. What a signature. Pana ukuthi Ansanda Saina, Ansanda Saina. Ardo Saina. Asante San. All right, I think we are good. To support ending child hunger and malnutrition in Zimbabwe. And we have all our signatures from our VIPs. They're standing right in front of you. We may give them a round of applause before they take their seats. You may take your seats. Thank you so much. You will forgive me, Mr. Matsika. I will call you back to give us the closing remarks. Mr. Matsika, again, he is the World Vision Zimbabwe board chair. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you so much, Director of Ceremony, and thank you everybody who has braved this morning up to this afternoon. I can't go and give you a handshake, but please listen next to you and give them a handshake and say enough of the speeches. If the person on your right is not smiling, look at another person and say there's not going to be any hunger strikes anymore. We're about to go for our lunch. May I really thank everybody who has managed to come through, fellow board members that are here present, our national director, other colleagues from other NGOs. We really are grateful that you have managed to come as we do the Enough campaign. One of the ladies said we should all do nutritional gardens.
And I want to say I've already started one in my own little garden. But the guest of honor emphasized that we should not just be focusing on energy. So the maize crop that was almost nearing maturity, I'm almost tempted to go and do justice to it so that I add a bit more of nutrition. I would also want to really thank the guest of honor for everything that he has said, except for one when he said, I'm the only obese person. And when he was saying it, he was looking at me. I'm not a child of a politician, but I almost felt that I should have shouted enough to the guest of honor. I hope, guest of honor, I'm forgiven. We're about to go for lunch. World Vision Zimbabwe has been doing quite a lot, and this is really coming from their heart when we say we want to end child hunger. And child hunger, from what the guest of honor then said, it may not be really felt now, but it will be felt in future. A hungry nation is a dangerous nation. And the future of any nation is reflected on the children that we raise. I was quite excited when they came up the podium, fluent in English, confident in nature, and you could almost see the reflection of the future. But that was not real reflection because the hunger of the hungriest are not here. And at one point when we did one field trip, we took our mineral water, and when it was halfway through, a colleague of ours dropped it, and there was a stampede for the very same mineral water. And I saw from my eyes what the back of the beyond, the reflection of it. It was just more than the water that they wanted to drink. That bottle of mineral water to them was a souvenir. And I said to myself, if God gives me the grace really to lead, I need to lead by example. At one point as a board, we took ourselves out for lunch. And I realized that the management of World Vision courteously would go with a plate, just like what we're going to be doing very soon for lunch. And their plates were never really filled to capacity. And here I am, the chairman of World Vision, being given the gracious honor, and my plate was filled with everything that could be edible. And they all smiled at me, and I thought, being the boss, this is what comes with the package. When it came to the eating part, trust me, George, it was not easy. I only did justice to a third of my plate. And they watched the waiter taking it to throw it to the garbage. And from that moment, I looked at their plates. They took enough to eat, and their plates. So jokingly, I said to my team, you guys must be on diet. And they said, we don't do it that way, Doc. We are World Vision. We are cautious that what we are eating now on is going to be able to eat it again. And from that moment, my narrative changed. I don't eat more than enough. Why? Because there is somebody out there who's looking up to me and say, if only I could become like him. It takes the leader to do that. And I would want to congratulate today World Vision. Before I sit down, Dr. Kilton Moyo then said something interesting during tea. He took, I don't know what you call it in your language, credit not magaka. It means wa. And trust me, we don't really sow much of these seeds. They just grow naturally. And then he says to me, Doc, are you aware this is the second nutritious fruit or vegetable, I don't know what we can call it, in the world? And I'm looking at him and say, are you aware that they grow out wildly in our field? And as I was coming to it, I then realized that the greatest danger that we have, not only in Africa, but worldwide, is our lack of knowledge. And the guest of honor said that what I'm imparting now to you is the knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, enough of crying. Let's go out there and let's do enough. We might be able to do it for the whole of Zimbabwe. Let us start at the backyard. Kwaunogara kumba, let there be nutritious garden. And if I've done enough, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to wish all of us a healthy lifestyle, but in a very cost-effective nature. Start where you are. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pachishona tinoti pabva kutaurwa nevakuru hapasisina zvakawanda zvekututsira naye. Well said. Thank you so much, Doc. Another round of applause for Dr. Matsika. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our program. And as we sign off, may we all come together and shout out the hashtag enough, so that wherever we go, wherever we are, you're to meet someone today, I'm sure you have something to share with them about today's event and this campaign that has officially launched starting today and ongoing for the next 3 years. Now, before we do that, I'm just getting a signal. We need to present special gifts to our guest of honor and the Director General, Dr. George Kembo. If you can please come through. You can present. Okay, that's the, all right, yes. You can please present to our guest of honor. Chipururudzawo kane muridzo. And the Valentine gifts. Mozov Mati. Their car keys. And money. Another round of applause. I'd also like to invite from the Ministry of Health and Childcare Deputy Director Andrea Njobo to also come through as we present a gift from our lovely students. Anzivale yenyu yakurumidza yachimbidza yauya.
So I'm going to announce the third gift. So the third gift is for KVG. Yeah, I would like to
Zale yangu from World Vision.
would like to appreciate for the work well done. Yeah, for directing the whole ceremony and for helping me as the co-MC. Thank you so much.
Let's also give a round of applause to my co-MC Linda for a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for allowing me into your space. World Vision Zimbabwe, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this campaign and to run with the program with my co-MC Linda. Till we meet again, like I said, we need to connect on social media, World Vision Zimbabwe, so that you can keep up with the action and also follow up, you know, the progress that we will be making during the course of the year. So make sure that you follow us on social media. For now, photo shoots and networking, and then we will break for lunch. Thank you so much. All right. I will kindly ask our guest of honor. Tumutange ndimi kusimuka. Tafura yenyu zosimuka ichikuteerai for our photo shoot. Engineer, some music. Thank you. Nice. I know I won't do my video.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. In my life, out upon the water, the great unknown, where feet may fail. There I find you in the street, in ocean sea, a famous land. I will climb on you. Keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, and soul and rest in your embrace. For I you are the grace of blooms in deepest water. Sovereign, be my God. Where feet fail and fail surrounds me. You never fail, and you won't start now. So keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. waves. Oh, I you. My trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters where you call me. Take me deeper than my feet. And my faith would be stronger. In the presence of my Savior. Trust is without borders. Let me walk wherever you lead. Take me deep that my faith would be stronger. The presence of my Savior. Trust is without borders. Let me walk wherever you go. Take me deep. My faith will be stronger. The presence of my Savior. Keep my eyes above the oceans rise, my soul would rest in your embrace. For I oh, 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 you are mine. Out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, there I find you in the street, in oceans deep, a famous land. I will climb upon you. Keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul would rest.